Good morning. I have the opportunity with my friend Özcan Çetin for talking about refugees. We could talk a hard talk about is Turum a gastronomic refugee because people misunderstand what the importance of Kurdish cultural, but other refugees people. So let's talk about it.
Thank you, Juan. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, today we choose talking about refugees, which is a hot topic, hot subject, especially in Turkey, I would say. Yeah, it would be nice to talk about it.
I think we have three topics for talking. Uh, Mainly with the idea of Syrian war and the impact on Turkey. I will need to make a resume to explain what happened in Syria, and, and mainly it's being confused for some people because they say it's operated by NATO, United States, uh, Petersburg, and many others who want war everywhere and goes to small few countries to make war and destroy people and those things. Now, as we see now, in 2022, there are countries that are weak to meal and those things to eat, and the high prices by many causes makes those governments have problems in making their own people be well food. So when the Arab risings in 2011 happened in Syria, there were inner problems with the privatization of companies, the situation of oil and gas, and corruption. So many problems had inside Al-Assad family government. So people uprised. Many circumstances came in because it appeared the Islamic State and the Kurds were the only one who counter-struck. It is also Russian propaganda saying, "Oh, Russia counter-struck the Islamic State and won the war." No, no, no. That's stupid. They came long before that. Russia did nothing. Kurdish people did many things, and it's curious, but because ongoing the Syrian civil war, many Kurds went to Turkey. So in Turkey there are Kurds, and with refugees this issue comes into a bigger problem. So that's the idea. If you want to complement this introduction,
No.
so in that world that we lived, we have the first idea on the difference between Turkey's refugee issue and the European Union, because Turkey, uh, I don't remember just the year, I think it was 2002 or so when Turkey won the Eurovision contest, and the next ceremony was in Istanbul, and many people there in the hall saying, Turkey is Europe, listen, Brussels, listen, we are Brussels. Okay, that was a whole, not the whole country. So Europe and Turkey, with the actual head of state, is not good relations. So in this issue, there are differences in the manage of the problem from Turkey and the European Union. So that's the question.
Uh, like you say, there are plenty of issues when it comes to refugees, and it's a evergreen question in the international public. But today, let me focus on the differences between approach of the European Union and Turkey's towards the refugee issues. First of all, plenty of people in Europe will say Turkey is culturally close to the refugees. Let's say refugees are culturally close to Turkey, and they will easily uh, get used of life in Turkey. That's true. Relatively, that's true. I mean, Turkey both physically and culturally closer to the Middle East than the Europe is, but that's a trap actually. Uh, that's a big trap. Even though Turkey is close in these topics, we cannot overlook the successful secular nation building process of Turkey, which started in 1923. So from this point, let me make point by point, explain point by point. First nation building of Turkey. We started Declaration of the Republic of Turkey after World War One. Since then, Turkey became more European than it was. It is a different country than Ottoman Empire. Turkey is not an empire anymore, but a nation state, more European, less Middle Eastern, less Islamic. And secondly, refugees. When we talk about refugees, not only Syrian but also Afghans and others are settled west part of Turkey. That is notable. That's important mark because the Western Turkey is where they see that on the Turkish TV, Turkish movies, and Turkish shows, the most popular places. They see all these things are in the Western Turkey, and Western Turkey are more developed than the East, which means more job opportunity, more business opportunity, and better life, we can say. And why does it matter? Why does it matter that refugees can go to east or west? It matters because refugee issue embodies the difference between Western Turkey and Eastern Turkey, where the Kurdish majority are living. According to my field experience, infelicity of towards Syrians arise way much more in the west than it is in the east, where Turks are living. So Western Turkey are against the Syrian refugees more than the east. And again, the east is Kurdish majority. So it's fair to say that Syrian issue actually triggering the Turkish nationalism. Okay. On the other hand, Kurdish nationalisms are also rising, but there is a difference. On one hand, Turkish nationalism takes the Syrians as an enemy and they're getting stronger against the Syrians. But on the other hand, Kurds are seeing that the Arabic street signs, Arabic education, more freedom for Syrians than they have for Kurdish minority or community, and that triggers Kurdish nationalism. So, in a nutshell, it's fair to say that Turkish nationalism is against Syrian, but Kurdish nationalism is against Turkey's behavior towards Syria. So, yeah, the root, the focal point is the refugee issue. Both impacted Turkish and Kurdish nationalism, but Turkish nationalism is being more militarist than Kurdish nationalism. Kurdish nationalism is the rising Kurdish nationalism in Turkey is like more like why we don't have the right that Syrians have. They come a couple of years ago, but we are here for 1,000 years. but still we cannot educate in Kurdish language, our language. We cannot practice our cultural issues, and somehow that makes Kurds and Turks a little bit closer. Or let me fix it. Let me correct it. Turks getting have more sympathy toward Kurds after Syrians. So it has a very interesting impact. Uh, so, other hand, Turkey, the difference, the one main difference between Europe and Turkey, European Union or Western countries generally receive too many refugees, but based on the human rights, democracy, or this kind of values. But in Turkey, there are two main reasons. First reason is the religion, and the second reason is the finance. Let's talk about the finance first. As many of us know, Turkey and EU has an agreement, refugee agreement, uh, Syrian refugee agreement, let's say, and basically Turkey is getting paid by the European Union per each Syrian refugee who lives in Turkey, uh, by promise of Turkey that Turkish government will not let Syrians to cross to the European Union. So, and religion reason. Let me delay talk about this. Let me delay talking about it a little bit. Uh, so in the first, we talk about the secular nation building of Turkey after 1923. Now, let me check my notes. And these 2 points, there are two sub points: approach of the public of Turkey, I mean the people, and approach of the government. Approach of government is again based on the finance and the religious, but approach of people more like economy and nationalism. Like I say, Turkish secular nation building educate people. Even like a couple of years ago, people were being educated, thought in the primary schools that the Arabs are the traitors, the Turks are backstabbed by the Arabs in the World War One. This is why the Ottoman Empire collapsed. So they're our enemy. And just imagine, plenty of people, like majority of the nation, educated in such a way. So it will be very, very difficult to change their mind towards Arabs. Well, government played the religious card, but so far I wouldn't say it's working well. And now we come to approach of the government. Yeah, government play the religious because for the many politicians in Turkey, protecting the Syrian Muslim refugees are an religious and holy task. But like I say, the people, this idea doesn't have a base among the public, among the people. And like I say, it will be very difficult to change mind of people when it comes to like that. And let me check my notes again. Like I say, it's one of my article, and I don't want to be nerd. I don't want to be boring. But let me check my notes. It will be giving more solid idea. Yeah.
Not boring.
Yeah, in this regard, there's another thing which is interesting. I want to jump in. Uh, Many Muslim, Middle Eastern, and many Arabs I have been taught, in their imagination, Turkey is a developed country and European country and beautiful touristic destination, and they see for sure impact of Turkish movies are huge, and they love Turkey because of that, and they love to visit Turkey as a prestige, which is understandable. Actually, it's not easy for them to visit Europe or European Union. Turkey is easy to get. For most of them, there is no visa, and Turkey is cheap and beautiful. And most importantly, it's Muslim. And when I have been told by many Arab friends that Turkey is Muslim but European, it's like the imagination, Europe but Muslim. It's huge. But majority of Arabic tourists when visit Turkey, they visit Turkey for actually non-Islamic purpose, like visiting the beach, sea and clubs even, or partying. These things have nothing with the religions. So interestingly, in my opinion, it's a big dilemma. They love Turkey for its Muslim, but they want to do non-Islamic things in Turkey. That's quite interesting. Yeah. And like I said, these are the main differences. And the approach of the government, I want to focus a little bit on that. Does it work or no? To me, it doesn't work so far. And the reason I can list is that secularism, Turkish nationalism, and Syrians' behavior, and the European Union's narrow vision towards the refugees. Yeah.
It's an interesting view of this issue because it's curious because war in Syria hasn't get an end because it was supposed that Al-Assad faction was winning. The Kurds are stable in the north, and Islamic State disappeared. But there is other players: Iran, Russia, United States, Israel, of course. Golan Heights are protecting land that is claimed by Syria. Why? Because Israel needs water, which is in Golan Heights, and from Golan Heights is possible getting some missiles in Damascus without danger. So it's an interesting approach because, as we could remember, in 2003 there was Iraq war, and at that time Syria and Iran got an agreement when if one was attacked, the other will go to retaliate. And in 2007 in Syria there was an attack by Israel for a nuclear settlement that was building a nuclear facility for getting nuclear weapons to Syria. It's interesting what happened years later. If Syria got nuclear weapons, what will have happened with those nuclear weapons in the years to come in the Syrian civil war? It's interesting. World is not stable. It's true. There is an impact image. A little young baby in the coast of Turkey. Death watching to the waters and therefore Europe on the horizon. It's interesting because it was called a Syrian refugee, but it was not a Syrian refugee. It was a Kurd from Kobane, the martyr city. It's interesting because the undercover of the story by the Turkish were inside the idea of not saying the truth. And not saying the truth is saying those people want to go and settle and have a new living. That's not a refugee. A refugee is one people that has a problem with his living. But the idea is returning sometime to their own country. That's the idea of a refugee. So, in that point, it's important the name and the situation and the context. So, it's interesting with the idea in the context of Syria, Kurds, and Turkey, and within the nation building, the nationalism, and the how I say it, Dardanellos, when Churchill wanted that operation to approach in Istanbul in the First World War. That the commander in chief was Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, true, but in his command were Arabs, Kurds, German
Armenians.
German assistants,
Yes.
and little Turkish people. But the ongoing story about that victory was, oh, we won, Turkish won without help. Good, good story, but not true.
Yeah, that's good point. Like I always say, the nation building process of Turkey is very successful and very interesting for those who want to research. In Dardanelles War, which is the battle in World War I, actually not many people were describing themselves as Turk until 1923. The word Turk was not marking the nation or an ethnic group. It was equal to the word Muslim, because this word uh, was popular among the Europeans. Europeans start calling the Ottomans as Turk. Even the Ottoman was a huge empire for Arabs, Albanians, Bosnians, Serbians, Greeks, Jews, Georgians, Kurds. All these nations were in one border, and somehow all of these were starting called Turk, and then it became only the Muslim ones are Turk, and then finally in 1923 the Turk is a nation, and it's, the nation building started, and like you say, the dynamics in Syria so have has an impact on the Turkish refugee issue. And continuing to the difference between EU and Turkey, let's keep in mind that Turkey never signed any agreement, international agreement or accord uh, regarding the refugees. So actually, the Syrians or any refugees, any foreigners in Turkey are not considered as refugee according to the international law. In Turkey, they are being called guests officially, like guests, because they don't have a legal statute. They have resident permit, they have work permit. Some of them have citizenship only, even passport, even. But most of them are just guests. There is no statute for them, and that's very chaotic. And European Union think it's good idea to pay Turkey to keep them in the border of Turkey, but no, it harms stability of Turkey actually, and an unstable Turkey is not a good thing for the European Union actually. I don't know the genius behind this European Union and Turkey agreement regarding refugees, but I feel like it's not working well, and it will never work well. And these things are the sides from European Union and Turkey, and there's other sides from the Syrian refugees. I want to talk about a little bit. Once Syrian came to Turkey, uh, somehow they have big expectation. They think they are being welcomed by a majority of Turks. Uh, they will get citizenship very easily. They will have a good life. But actually, from many Syrian friends of mine, I have been told that their life never changed. I mean, the life in Turkey and life in Syria almost same, no major differences. And some of them even told me that actually their life in Syria was way better than their life in Turkey. So I don't see any point that keeping Syrians in border of Turkey. It's harm stability of Turkey, and it will for sure harm the stability of European Union as well, and all neighborhood countries. Like thinking about geopolitics, importance of Turkey, geolocation of Turkey, it will be a bomb in the room, in the living room, And yeah, let's continue about behavior of Syrians. They somehow had a big expectation. They somehow got a sense of uh, ownership of the country. They thought it will be easy to settle down in Turkey. They will get residence permit and citizenship very easy. But many of my Syrian friends are suffering of that. And these are the first mistakes Syrians did. And the second mistake, uh, I really don't know why, and I really would love to hear from any Syrian who is gonna watch this YouTube video. I would really want to know the motivation behind not all, but many Syrians jump into the Turkish politics, Turkish domestic, even though they have no idea what the politics, because the political landscape of Syria is way different than the political landscape of Turkey. Well, Turkey is not the best democracy in the world, but still comparing to the neighbor, especially Middle East neighbors, Turkey has good democracy and the election system, relatively nice freedom of speech. Uh, but I don't think that our Syrian friends understand the environment of Turkey, and they took a side immediately, and they thought taking a side, that side will help them to stay in Turkey easier, and they will provide them a privilege. But actually, that caused more problem for the Syrians, and it trigger the Turkish nationalism. And this is the second mistake. And the third mistake is that they somehow, unlike many other countries, Syrians in Turkey have sympathy to right-wing parties. In Germany, for example, refugees are likely to have sympathy or support the left-wing parties, which are the pro-refugees, pro-freedom, pro-multiculturalism. But in Turkey, it's very interesting, and I think it does work to research on that, conducting a research study. They have sympathy to the right wing, not only Islamic. I mean, Islamic parties, Islamic politicians. I understand they have sympathy because of the religion, but they even have sympathy for the ultra nationalist, ultra Turkish nationalist figures and ultra Turkish nationalist parties. And I can very easily tell you that Turkish nationalists have no sympathy, no love for Syrians. That's quite weird. And the fourth mistake Syrians did, uh, like we many times talk about the Kurdish and Turkish issue in Turkey, how things started, how things are going on, what's the situation right now. There is a unhappiness, let's say, towards the Kurds in Turkey. And Syrians, some Syrians, luckily not all of them, but some Syrians, uh, thought it's good idea to take side of Turks and being against Kurds, and that method will provide them a privilege, and they will gain sympathy of Turks, and they will have a better life. But it doesn't work like that. Interestingly and surprisingly, I have to admit, even Turks, even nationalist Turks, didn't like that behavior of Syrians. And there are some videos. I'm not talking out of blue. There are some experience I witnessed, and there are even some YouTube videos. And even Turkish nationalists didn't like this method of Syrians. It's like this is our domestic politics. We can hate each other, but you cannot jump into our station. That's very interesting. And since Syrians behaving in this way, in this method, the mistakes I just listed. In one hand, Turkish nationalism is rising against Syrians and generally against all refugees. On other hand, Turkish nationalism, I wouldn't say they are getting sympathy for the Kurds, but let's say the hate against Kurds are getting a little bit lower thanks to Syrians. And on other hand, Kurdish nationalism, like I explained, uh, getting more power. It's good excuse, and I would say the Kurds are using that opportunity against the government. It's like, hey, Syrians have their street signs. Syrian children can study in Arabic. Why not? We cannot do the same. So somehow they are gaining space, gaining the floor from this opportunity.
It's interesting. How many
Yeah.
Syrian origin passport people um, are in Turkey now,
Syrians who get Turkish passport.
who have a Syrian passport, being living in Turkey now. How many people?
Uh, well, officially it is around 6 million, I guess, but the official numbers are not changing a
That's
lot.
many people in a country, Turkey. What 90 million people? Probably
Yeah.
it's a large number, 6 million over 90 million.
Mhm.
So it's a, an impactant group of settlement. It's true. So here we have the idea of the second topic, how the Syrian refugees impact nationalism in Turkey, both Turks and Kurds, because as you say, and I can have a lecture about that, the idea is that many of those refugees want to participate in public debate and politics in Turkey because they are there and they want to participate. And that participation in one direction inside the politics in Turkey goes to support those who contribute to maintain Syrian war alive because they want a, a type of border inside Syria. Now they are preparing one strike in,
Mhm.
in the middle of Afrin and Kobane cities. In, within that, so it's curious. It's retroalimenting that idea. We want to support this. This is this destabilizing Syria, and it's interesting there. And for sure, there is an impact inside the proper Turkey. So um, it's interesting that Rubik game.
Yeah. Yeah. Regarding your question, the unofficial numbers are around 56, but sorry, the official numbers are 56, but unofficially, many people, and one of them, believe that there are not less than 10 million Syrians living in Turkey right now. 10 million is huge. It's really huge. Because not only the Syrians who come to Syrian are living in Turkey. They have family, they are having children, and plenty of Syrian children were born in Turkey. So I don't know, should we consider them as Turkish or Syrian?
On that point,
So,
it's interesting. One question: Turkey
yeah.
is more jus sanguini or jus soli
Sorry, pardon?
for the recognition of nationality? Turkey is more
Uh-huh.
jus sanguini or jus soli?
Based on the blood.
Mm, Jus sanguini.
It's not like, yeah, it's not like, yeah, you were born in Turkey and you get Turkish citizenship automatically now. So one of your parents has to be Turkish citizen. But for Syrians, I will say the things are a little bit flexible. So they are changing the rules. There are plenty of Syrians who get a Turkish passport. One of them I met yesterday, and he was like showing his Turkish passport to me very proudly. And he's working in Turkey for 7 years, and he thinks he's contributing to Turkey, to the nation. And he got a Turkish passport, and tired of his family as well. So yeah, plenty of Syrians are getting Turkish passport, and that marks another question. Well, number of Syrians in Turkey is benefits of getting money from the European Union in the simple simple formula, but it comes another problem. Like I say, it's stability and social dynamics, social unrest. But there is another point: the elections. You know, the opposition parties are concerning that Syrians who get Turkish passport will vote, and for sure they will not vote for them because opposition are the leftists, not religious, not right wing. Like I explained interestingly, uh, I guess it's the first time in the world, Syrians are more likely to vote for the right-wing parties, and it's not in benefit of opposition parties for sure. And opposition parties, most of the main opposition party, even the right-wing opposition parties, I would say, are concerning that Syrians will vote in upcoming elections. So far, that's the one of the hottest, the major debate in Turkish domestic politics. But beside that, like I say, in the first, Turkey is physically close to the Middle East, and culturally, well, majority is Muslim on the paper at least, and culturally, it's not far from the Middle East. They catch from the things. All these things are true, but that doesn't. It's a trap, like I say. It doesn't make Turkey seem as any Middle Eastern countries. We have different way in Turkey. Like we can say the same thing for Iran, for example. In different path, different management of the democracy, freedom of speech, bad or good. I mean, different story, total different story. So, and of course, the public, the society, also different than the entire Middle East. And it's not easy to say that, oh, okay, Syria is near to Turkey. Culturally, they are easy, so they are easy to merge. No, it doesn't work like that. And it's already becoming one of the major problem in the Turkish public. And we have to analyze this fact with the economic situation. Well, in the world there is a problem of inflation, and in Turkey we feel it. I think Turkey is one of the biggest victim of this inflation, global inflation, and the economy is not doing well. And people are getting more and more angry towards Syrians, especially, but not only Syrians. I mean, entire refugees. But yes, Syrians are the first. So I really don't think that even the ruling party will tolerate such an anger from the people. They already started deporting uh, people from Turkey. It's like useless people. They are deporting from Turkey to Syria, probably the part being controlled by the Turkey. Even inside Turkey, inside Syria, there's a protest against Turkey because the economy is not going well, and it's not going good. They are even angry towards Turkey. So all these things are coming, and we are in the edge of election. So I personally expect a radical change from the ruling party towards Syrians, and it will not be in benefit of Syrians. And let's keep in mind the main partner of the ruling party is actually Turkish nationalist, ultra Turkish nationalist. Is the symbol of Turkish nationalism and history. And for sure, they are not sharing the same opinion like the ruling party towards Syrians. And I personally expect a dramatic change in life of Syrians in Turkey, and it will not be a positive change.
It's interesting because, as we could say, not for go to that latitude, but in the United States, there are nationalities that mainly vote for Republicans or Democrats. As we can see, Irish, Italians are mainly Democrats, or Cubans are mainly Republicans, and we can see other nationalities that are mainly voters for one option or another, and
Yeah.
it's historical. So we could see on Turkey some of that phenomenon on politics. So that's it's interesting because the idea of um, Turkish nationalism and mainly nationalism is the building of ours in front of the others and defining what is ours and what is others. And in that situation, intellectually, in a few years, for sure there have been a development in intellectual issues because how Turkish nationalism has um, made possible the the idea of incorporating, because those others are inside now, and those others inside are in supporting one part of Turkish nationalism. So those others in the discourse, the speech of how we confront with them, now they are our old friends of all time, because we are lovers in elections and in politics. So it's a high quality of jump inside the intellectual construction of discourse, of speech. It's interesting how they manage that idea in Turkish nationalism.
Uh, I have to repeat that the secular nation building. And before 1923, Turkish nationalism either didn't exist or it was merged with the Islamism. Okay, Turkish equal to Muslim. Right now, after 1923, Turkish nationalism became secular, and they more uh, emphasis of the symbols from the Central Asia, where the Turks believe their ancestors came from. So today's Turkish nationalism have this method. More Central Asian symbols, more like, for example, if you are following the conference right now being held in Hungary, Hungary also considered as a Turkic nation somehow, Central Asian nation, let's say. And each year they have a conference, Han and the Turk nations conference or something like that. You know, Hans are the Hungary and Turks are the Turkey and Turkmenistan and other Central Asian countries, Central Asian nations. So it's getting more distance from the Islamism. And how they handle, let me repeat it, they are being educated, most of people, even myself, one of them, uh, in the primary school, they teach us that. Right now, no, but a couple of years ago, even it was like that. Arabs are the traitors. Arabs are the reason Ottoman Empire collapsed. They backstabbed Turkey. They backstabbed us. You can never trust them. And the same thing like they say for the Armenians. You know, it's a national history, and it is not easy to. It's very hardcore education. You know, yeah, it's not easy to remove such an idea from mind of people. It's not really easy. The people in Turkey who has sympathy to the Syrians are either Islamists or the leftists. This both, I mean, even they are seeing the different side of the history. Both didn't take such Turkish official history, you know, and but it's very normal that Syrians are feeling closer to Islamists for sure. And to me, I only explanation I find so far how and why Syrians, and let me mark it, not all Syrians, but many Syrians, having sympathy to Turkish nationalists, Turkish secular nationalists, because of Turkish movies, because of what they are watching, or because of what they are hearing in Turkey probably, or they have fear that they think. Uh, I don't know. Actually, it's not a good explanation, but like I say, it's the only thing I found so far. And again, I would love to hear if any Syrian friend of us writes something below this video, what he thinks. So yeah, this is how they handle. And to me, more than Turkish nationalism, actually, I mean, Turkish nationalism is easy to be triggered. Can be triggered by the Greeks, can be triggered by the Armenians, can be triggered by Syrians, refugees. But the most notable one is the Kurdish nationalism, and probably it's possible. I'm not saying that it will happen, but it's likely. I would say the other ethnic minorities will follow Kurds. Like it was 2 weeks ago, I guess. The Circassians, you know, this Caucasian minority in Turkey, and there are huge number of population of them. that kind of keep them solid and strong in the small minority. And they're playing their national music, dancing their national folkloric dance. Somehow attack them because they thought they are Syrians, and they make this minority community very angry, and which is normal. So Turkish nationalism, once it triggered, doesn't matter who triggered Turkish nationalism, either Syrians, Kurds, or other ethnic minority. Most important one is the Kurdish nationalism. Since the Kurdish nationalism is rising, uh, they probably will get more freedom, like who knows, maybe studying Kurdish or kind of autonomy. I don't know. Street signs and this kind of folkloric freedom, this kind of things that Kurds express themselves. I already see the freedom of Kurds a little bit rising, not in the political area, but in cultural. I will say it's way better than like 10 years ago. It's fair to say that. And this happening because of Syrians. Syrians' existence in Turkey, Turkey's refugee policy, EU's refugee policy, all they come together through Turkish nationalism and the Kurdish nationalism on one hand. And probably the next one will be Syrian nationalism, because Syrians are being hated by both Turks and Kurds. And let me make a note here. According to my experience, field experience, Syrians in Western Turkey are easy to live in the Kurdish neighborhood than they do in the Turkish neighborhood. Somehow they feel more comfortable among the Kurds. That's also an interesting point. I would say, they if they have to rent a house, they prefer the Kurdish neighborhood than the Turkish one. That could be financial issues because Kurds also not living in the best situation in the West, and it's more expensive than the East. It also could be the cultural, like I said, Turkish nationalism rising against Syrians, but Kurdish nationalism is not rising against Syrians. They use the Syrians' existence in Turkey, Syrian refugees in Turkey, but for their benefit, not against them, not a militarist nationalism. But on the other hand, Turkish nationalism is quite militarist.
That's about the third topic, about the domestic politics and impact on Turkey's election. Is true. Next year the elections, general elections in Turkey, Turkey. We have here in Basque Country a place called Bermeo, and the Basque speaking is like the name was made by Bermeans, the people Turkish. And then we have the name for bread, ogia, and there they call okiche. It's curious. The best idea of the Turkey in history is that they leave the laicism and the secularism on the army for history. In the 19th century and earlier, the idea was copying the French Revolution, and there came with the ideas of illustration, the light, the light of the knowledge, and that is good and false. They have that two faces, because in France the idea was living the light, but that came within the idea of destruction of all the others, within the idea of French nationality. So the idea of bringing a nation building in Turkey with the back of the army, you have the idea of secularism, of laicism, that was bring up by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, from 1923, but in that nation building there is one nationality that destroy the others. That happened in France. So that was a problem for Kurds, of course. Mainly of Kurds because in 1923 all the Ottoman Empire was only Turkey for the idea of nation building. Armenians had their own country. After that, inside the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union collapsed, and Syria, Iraq, and many others came into another states in the world. And that, from there, and in Cold War, there were coup states in Turkey by the army as the guarding corps of the essence of the laicist regime. But at the coming of the 20th century, there were a party that was Islamic, but with democracy, democratic Islamic. They say themselves that they are like Angela Merkel's party. There are, yes, I have read that idea from the actual head state of Turkey. The idea of we have one party of Islamic democracy, that they have Merkel have the idea of Christian democracy, to sell them. I don't mean it's true or not. The sell is we have this approach to distribute what we want they think about us. So there, that context, it's interesting because now the army has been displaced because the actual Hofer state has a virtual Koput state that many people say that was fake, but the approach was making other officers aparting the mainly tradition of that army laicist and secularist. So what we have now is a state that parties have more importance. The army has less importance in the configuration of the state, and that's interesting because the elections are coming. There are few months for the elections, and inside there are many economic troubles, many economics, plenty of troubles. So the actual head state cannot bring to debate economics. So it has to move to another, and the empathic the speech, the emotional this speech is more for those issues, refugees, nationalism, identity. So it's interesting because instead of talking of projects, he wanted the actual head state of Turkey wanted to make another canal inside the Bosphorus, like in Nicaragua wanted Daniel Ortega making another canal. That was absolutely crazy. There is no money, of course, so the speech had to move to another identity. So that's interesting because there are approachings about the new head of state and the new government. It's not clear what can be.
You have points. One, we talk a lot about the nation building, which started in 1923. But today's Turkey, some people think that there is another nation building attempt, nation building process. And getting more refugees from Syria or Afghanistan is part of this. It's concern of the secular mostly, because they are like they think that for 100 years we try to make Turkey a secular country, secular nation, uh, having a democratic, uh, relatively more Western country. Now we are receiving people from other nations, and it's harming our republic. And this Canal issue, which is delayed as far as I know, uh, it seems not will take place in very soon, and I don't really know. Opposition parties were very strong against this, like very strong uh, opposition they performed. Okay, and since we talk about nation building and the refugees, right now it looks like there's another attempt for building a nation, changing the landscape of the nation. Let's say society. When it comes to Turkey, I prefer to say society rather than nation, because there are nations inside Turkey. Uh, Syrians are one of them, and we're seeing plenty of them are supposed to make Turkey more cosmopolitan, more intercultural, multicultural. But no, it didn't work like that. I don't know why. It's analyzed. But the thing I see is that Syrian community becoming more solid and close to the world and close to outdoor. And on the other hand, uh, Turkish public, Turkish society are not eager to get serious. I always forget that word. Uh, how you call it? Merging the societies, adaptation.
Yeah.
They are not very willing to adapt the Syrian community inside Turkey. And there is an example I always give to people when we talk about the refugee issue or migration. Uh, Receiving refugee and migration are very similar to adopt a kid. You have some criteria to adopt a kid. You have to mentally okay, financially okay, and you have to promise, you have to pledge that this kid will rise in good environment, and you provide his needs. Same with refugees, and Turkey has doesn't have almost all of them. Not a good financial environment, not in the democratic high standards, not freedom of speech, and refugees are suffering here. The only reason they are here, I will say, the economy. And since the economy is getting worse, like we saw in the Turkish-controlled area in Turkey, in Syria, they uprise, uprising against Turkey. They protest. They are violent protest. They are falling down setting fire to Turkish flags, insulting the Turkish flags, and for sure that's another impact that triggered Turkish nationalism, and it may cause worse problems. And again, the reason behind these things is the EU Turkey refugee agreement.
Mm. The idea is there because what Turkey was want from and within the refugees, and on the other side, for the European Union, it's a different approach because the idea for the European Union from another countries is European Union European countries has many problems within their past. They have been imperialist countries. They have gone everywhere to control peoples, and they have to suffer now what they did to those countries for a large period. And any other country, any other people in the world has the right to get the price inside the European Union, go there, live there, get the opulence of Europe, what was given by the kleptocracy of Europe in the world by imperialism. And that state of mind has to be broken for ours, for Europeans, because, for example, you can go to Germany and for all eternity say, "Oh, Uncle Adolf, how much the people suffer. Give me money." Oh no, that has to get an end in some time.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, that we have the refugee crisis. Say 6 years ago. So that state of mind has changed. I don't know. For real, we have now a refugee crisis with Ukraine, but it's different because in Poland it's more acceptable by the people, Ukrainian refugees, than Afghan refugees. They are more close. For European Union, we have another idea. Morocco said, not said, acted like, oh, they have refugee problems, so Europe give money, and people is quiet. Okay, I will go with people to the border in Ceuta and Melilla, and I give people, they give me money. And Europe was sensible then. It's curious because, oh, you are guilty, so you are bad guy, Morocco. So, in European view, it's curious because what happened? Because it appears that Turkey is giving money, well, still giving money. People of Syria are in Turkey, so it will not go to Europe. It's interesting one little thing. In the Ukrainian war by Russia, there was an idea of Syrian people to go to fight to Ukraine, even by Putin. When they go to Belarus, they disappear. They didn't want to break war for Putin. They get an interesting approach of giving the opportunity of, oh, do you want to give me to Belarus? Oh, I go, and then I disappear going to Europe. So they, for sure, war in Syria is not ongoing much more, because 10 years of war is much longer, but the consequences they are real and they will remain. So that different approach from those European Union and Turkey, and the impact on those spheres is interesting. What you said about that different state of mind and different form of giving the intellectual approach.
Yeah. It's a bad model, you know. It's quite bad model. Imagine each country are following the same model as European Union and Turkey. Actually, England, the UK is following the same one. They are somehow deporting the refugees to an African country, Rwanda, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't matter which country you came from to UK, India, Pakistan, or Afghanistan, or Syria, or I don't know. They deport you to an African country. I mean, the problem is not that the country is African. The problem is that it's irrelevant country, and it's like finding them with their life. There is a similar policy in Australia. Refugees are not being treated well. They put them in island called Christmas Island, and it's like open door prison. And seems like European Union and the European Union and Turkey agreements relatively more civilized, but still it's caused more examples like that in the history. And you cannot control such a thing. And just imagine the U.S. paid the Mexican government, and I highlight the government, but they pay the government. They don't pay the people. Pay the government to keep all Latin American refugees inside Mexico. It's not sustainable, like we see in Turkey. And I want to repeat that Turkey is an important country geopolitically, and it stays between Europe and Asia, even Africa, from uh, Black Sea and the Mediterranean, Middle East to the Balkans. Turkey has soil. Turkey has hands, let's say, and instable Turkey is not in benefit of European Union, or it's not benefit of any country, neither Russia nor the U.S. So putting all the refugees, keeping Turkey as unstable by refugees or other tools, are not in benefit of anything. I'm not saying that the European Union doing this on purpose, but perhaps it's an outcome of narrow vision, narrow scope, not a long-term policy. It's like, hey, just you know, put the dust under the carpet. It's somehow like that, and nobody is happy. Neither Turkish public is happy, nor Syrians are happy. Europeans are not happy. Nobody is happy in this policy, and I don't know why it's still being kept. And I feel and I hope they somehow review this policy, because more racism, more nationalism, and more refugees, you know, and more human trafficking. Right now, the human traffic is not a migration; it's more a business. They're asking huge amount of money from the Syrians in Turkey, and they help them to get the European Union soil. Human trafficking became normal. It has been normalized thanks to these agreements, and more you deport. So the solution, of course, I have something in my mind to propose some solutions, but it's another topic, another program. Perhaps we gonna need, but let the people live in their country happily, peaceful, and then everybody will be happy, I guess.
It's very simple, saying in Europe, Brussels is guilty. Oh, Commission is guilty, von der Leyen is guilty, good. Because the idea of refugees, of migrations, are exclusive policy of the states members of European Union. So European level has no capability on this issue. But when there are problems, there always are problems on any case. It's easy. Oh no! My government, my Orban Hungarian government, has no problem with migration. It's Europe. It's Brussels. They gave me an order about getting some refugees of I don't know where, because multiculturalism 2030 agenda, Davos, whatever. And it's not me, it's the others. But in those idea came, for example, Brexit, and one called Boris Johnson said Turkish will get England. 80 million Turkish will get England to live. What will remain in Turkey for living? Doves? Elephants? All the people. They said in the electoral approach in cartels and in flyers, and 80 million people of Turkey will get England. So lies as the security system, the health system. They said, "Oh, does that money that we give to Brussels will come, and we will build the best healthcare system in the world." Good. No, because the money goes and gets back by we get you as you when you go to a supermarket, you have money, you get out with the money without the money, but you get products, and you go to house with products. As the same idea in the market of Brussels, Britain go with money and they go back with infrastructures, healthcare system for Britain, but they wanted to go out because they wanted independence and get their own powers, and on that road they said the idea of refugees, of saying European Union was guilty of their own problems, and the problem is still there. Why? Because the people going to the United Kingdom is still the old colonies people going to the United Kingdom, and those people has now the same system that had before. So liars, there are liars in the world. It's not new, but for sure in European Union issue, a solution is giving powers to European level for giving management of those crises, having the idea that for now the competence of refugees is mancomunated, giving solutions within the state level, but they go to Brussels and putting in common those ideas. And putting in common in Brussels is like saying Brussels is the responsible, but it's not the Commission level, it's the Council of State level. So on this side, the clarification is needed, of course, and the transparency.
Hello?
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So battery of my headphone just ended up. Yeah. Yeah, like you say, I want to mark something. I want to highlight something. Being against refugee policy of the government doesn't mean being against the refugees. Contrary, to me, in my opinion, the current refugee policy of Turkey, European Union, the US, or any country, any nation, any government, not matching the standard of human rights. Let's put it how it is. Doesn't match. This thing don't match the standard of human rights. It causes more refugees, more human rights violence, more child abuse, more abuse against the woman. The current policies are not helping refugees; they are killing more refugees. So this is the thing. Actually, we are having such a program, analyze, and we need a total change in the refugee policies of the governments. I mean, like I say, things working, dating working between Turkey and European Union, just give the money and keep all refugees in, or keep all refugees in an island, or deport all refugees to an irrelevant country in somewhere. Doesn't work like that. We need other approach. We need totally different understanding of refugee policy. So being against refugee policy, or for example, once if I tell you that I don't like the refugee agreements between Turkey and European Union, Syrians are in Turkey are not benefits of neither Syrians nor Turkey. Doesn't mean I'm against Syrian. Contrary, I'm trying to help Syrians. I wish better life for them. But like I say during the interview, during this talk, uh, many Syrian friends of mine are complaining their life in Turkey. Well, some of them still happy because they love Turkey. Somehow they settle down, but notable number of them are like our life in Syria was better than life in Turkey. So that means something wrong here. And that means Turkey is not helping Syrians. That means Turkey is not helping. I mean, helping doesn't mean only providing a job or making money and just, I mean, just put yourself in place of a Syrian. You cannot, you cannot enjoy the social life. You cannot enjoy the parks. You cannot enjoy the restaurants. You cannot enjoy your language. You are Syrian. Anything you do, you are being labeled as Syrian. This is racism. This is pure racism. And receiving all of the receiving many Syrians to Turkey doesn't help to reduce racism. It causes more racism, and that means something wrong. And we have to solve it. We have to find another way to treat them, to treat well all these people. And again, the current refugee policies of any government, any nation, are not helping refugees, are not helping people who are suffering in their native country.
Good. We agree that the idea is having their own country stable and prosperous.
Yeah.
So for Syrian refugees, the idea is how we recover Syria for the living.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have some ideas, but it will require long hours to talk. Uh, Actually, the first I will say we need another analyze again. We need another approach, and first we have to stop. We have to seize the fight in Syria right now. I mean, everybody is king in Syria. This part being controlled by that organization, that part being controlled this organization. The regime control that. Russia control this. Turkey, Iran control that. This. It's total chaos. It's not easy to solve such a problem, and there is a rule in the political science. Once a civil war broke up somewhere, and it may cease, it may end very soon. But in case the foreign powers involved in the war, that war will not be ended before 10 years. In the statistics we have during the history, no war, no civil war that the foreign powers involved ended before 10 years. And Syria is total chaos, like I say. It's not easy to solve. It's not easy to find a solution. Even worse than Afghanistan and Iraq. Both ethnically and strategically, Syria has unique features, and of course, it's charming for regional and the international powers. And it will not easy to convince, gather all of these actors around the table to convince them to put an end to the war in Syria. First, we have to end the war, and then we have to talk how to develop the country. Then it will solve. But I mean, it's not as simple as this. I have to admit, it's not as simple as that. Uh, but something for sure, the current way is not the best way to solve refugee issue.
Interesting and difficult, but
Yeah.
the future of quite solving the issue of refugees about Syria may go on those road about stabilizing Syria. Ongoing for sure, there will be the elections in next year in Turkey, and the problem is still ongoing, and Syrians living in Turkey, and who get, no Syrians living next year in Turkey.
Well,
We will see
I,
what happens next year in
next
elections.
year, like I say, my prediction is that the life for Syrians in Turkey will not be easy as we are approaching, as we are getting closer to the elections. Opposition party and even ruling parties will use this card against each other. The life for Syrians in Turkey will not be easy for sure, sadly, unfortunately. I already heard some Syrian families start leaving Turkey for Syria, but where they can go, I mean, they have two options only. Either they go to regime controlled area or they go to the Turkish controlled area. And the Turkish controlled area will be the same as the any city of Turkey, any province of Turkey, I guess. And going back to the regime controlled area will be a total disaster for Syrian refugees. They are in a big dilemma. Maybe they cannot stay in Turkey anymore. Maybe, I mean, and they don't have too many options. They cannot go to Europe. They cannot go to Russia. They cannot go to any more developed nation. Uh, they have to back. They have to be back their country, but which part of the country? Controlled by the part being controlled by the regime, or part being controlled by Russians or Turks? That's big dilemma. It's really hard to solve the problem. I mean, come on, Juan, it's a problem. Cannot be solved by the all the governments. How can I solve in one single interview? But yeah, it's all I can say. The next year will not be easy for the Syrians, unfortunately, in Turkey.
There is one last thing. It's a curiosity. What is ongoing in certain future? The Turkish controlled part in Syria
Yeah.
is a tool to manage inside politics in Syria,
Mhm.
or Turkey wants to redraw the borders, having inside Turkey those Turkish controlled areas.
If we are talking about whole the government of Turkey, I really doubt that Turkey has such an intention. Redrawing the borders is not something easy to do, you know. If we talk about whole the governments, if you are talking about some cliques and some politicians inside Turkish government, yeah, I would say some of them have that idea, that have this. Let me find the best word. This ideology, maybe. But yeah, still, it's not easy. Still, it's not easy. And what's happening? Yeah, did you ask me what's happening inside Turkish control area of Syria, right?
Yes, the two possibilities I see is being as a tool for managing inside politics in Syria and being inside there, or having shut down and redrawing the borders and incorporating formally those areas to
Mhm.
Turkey, because the explanation is very simple. 100 years ago, Syria didn't exist, so the borders are really new in the area.
It is. Well, it's like Iraq. I mean, like I say, Syria has unique features. Still, they think the Turkish province Hatay, which is on the border of Syria, consider as their own province, and Lebanon as their own province as well. And Syria is hosting many ethnic groups: Circassians, Kurds, Armenians, Arabs, Sunni Arabs, non-Sunni Arabs, uh, Christian Arabs, Druzies. So it's really, really like it's a main field, you know. It's not easy to solve the issues, and yeah, borders are new, but this region, I mean, this part of the world are not used to have these borders, like you say, and these borders are not natural. Let's say we have to either redraw the borders according to ethnicities or the geography. That's the question. And the biggest question is that will it be possible? You know, sometimes you have to keep borders incorrect, unprepared, to keep your benefits. You know, sometimes having a clash or reverse near to your border is in your benefit, and sometimes some governments want to keep the things in this way. So there is not only one dynamic to decide the borders. Yeah, you are right. The borders are new. That's one thing. That's one dynamic. But there are more dynamics.
Um, that's why we came to an end, because with the borders, with the creation of borders, then we can speak about refugees. Without borders, there wasn't refugees. There were people going from one side to another. So that's how we in the Middle East have refugees.
So it's my turn to ask question. So you think that removing the borders are the solution for the refugees?
No, the state building is not possible giving up borders in this world, but creation is part of humanity. Be creative.
Yeah, I would say the strong border could be solution, but I'm not talking about border dividing the people, but border of the economy, like being, I mean, building more better economies and equal economy would be solution. I would say.
It's what's very interesting in talking about this issue.
Hmm.
So thank you very much of having this talk.
Thank you.
For the people, thank you for getting this point and comment as you want freely.
Yeah, I hope I will read some comments. I'm really curious about it.
So thank you and see you another time.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the people who are watching this.